let's look at what there seems to be a myth. I don't know if you have heard about it, that it's normal or it's African that in a community you must find a mentally ill person to know that is a human community. That if you don't find a mentally ill person in the community, that community must have some devilish.
Let me shock you further. Instead of answering that question, I will reframe the question for you and tell you the reality of the society. The truth is that our society is full of mentally ill people. So it's not the issue of one mentally ill in a family or society. The reality is that we have given a misnomer to what we call mental illness. Mental illness is not that madman
on the street.
That could be schizophrenia, but there are a lot of conditions in the spectrum of mental illness. If you are struggling with motivation to wake up from your bed in the morning and do what you're meant to do today, or go to work and be productive, there's something we call presenteeism in corporate wellness. That is, your staff is present, but it is at a zero resourceful state.
It's there in the office.
It's there in the office as a zero, and it's even worse than absenteeism, which we call sick off. That's one form of mental illness. If you are gradually losing your thoughts, we call it flight of thoughts. Those are early symptoms. If you are finding it difficult to think clearly, any small challenge, you find it difficult to critically think and weigh your options. Yes, that's a level of mental illness. There are anxiety disorders. What about phobia in the society? Some people, I have a friend that said I should come and talk to her mom. She cannot, since the last episode of plane crash, she cannot move
getting to a flight.
Not even taking flight. She cannot move close to the airport. She cannot live around the airport because the plane crashed her. So she cannot live anywhere close. In fact, the sound of a plane flying is enough to cause palpitations for her. That's phobia accompanied with panic attack. It's a form of mental illness that is manifesting physically already. And the reality is this: there's a strong link between your psychological condition and your physical condition, heart disease, cancers, diabetes, and the rest, proven scientifically.
Now, let's come to that. That is an area I would like us to begin to look at. Very frequently, you either on radio or TV or in newspapers, you hear sudden death, untimely death. At 40, at 30, at 60, at 50. It wasn't ill. And are you trying to say to us now that it is possible that some of these sudden deaths, untimely deaths, might have been caused by?
Father, let me tell you the reality again in our society. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you really hear about a 50-year-old man, or 55 even,
dropping off,
dying of heart attack or slumming. But Nigeria today, we have 30-something. Not quite long, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, someone that I know very well, of blessed memory now, slummed and died at a popular relaxation joint in Lekki Phase 1 while playing snooker game.
Snooker?
Yes. Just this last Saturday, one of my clients also called me and said, "Doc, please, I need to do my comprehensive health check this week." I said, "Well, you said you don't have money as of 2 weeks ago. You are not ready to do it." I've changed my mind. That we just got news that she's a top executive with the bank in Nigeria, in Lagos there. And one of their top staff
just dropped
dead in the office. And I've heard several. And one thing about psychological illness, or what I call psychological stress in our society, when your thinking is distorted or your feelings are distorted as a result of situations you are seeing or you're passing through, is that stress, the strategy it uses against us is that it hijacks our lifestyle. If it doesn't hijack your lifestyle,
stress
hijacks our lifestyle. I call these things, I like to use analogy or proverb so that people can understand easily. I always say that the human mind and body can be likened to a building that has several windows. Okay? Now, people can see through the windows. Fresh air can come in through the windows. At the same time, bad odor can come in through the windows. Our lifestyle essentially are the windows to our mind and body. And over the years, from training, from speaking and the rest, I've come to narrow down all these windows so that people can easily remember them and run and live their life based on them. I've categorized them into just 8 main lifestyle windows. I always say that these 8 lifestyle windows are the access to your mind and body. You can keep them shut. Though the stressful challenges are on, but your windows are shut to them. And your mind and body are intact. Therefore, your health, your happiness, and your productivity will be intact and will be going upward. And unfortunately, in our society, a lot of people, the situations they are passing through, the demands, the pressures of life or work, or the challenges of our society have hijacked these 8 lifestyle windows.
What are these windows?
Okay, to quickly just mention them, I've mentioned them before on one show like this, but I will just list them out because of time. Now, the first one, which is critical, is weight and fitness.
Weight and fitness.
Once you are passing through any situation that you are accepting is out of your control and you are responding anyhow to it, one of your first lifestyle area that goes to it or is hijacked is your weight and fitness. You suddenly lose your fitness because you no longer live physically active. Is either you are complaining or you are giving excuse on time pressure, or you are not motivated, or emotions you're feeling has hijacked even your eating style, so that you are adding pounds of fat into your body. And it's critical because as of 2006, African Press Report, in conjunction with World Health Organization, released a startling statistical report. And they said that as of 2006, more than 1/3 of African women are obese. We are not just talking about overweight now.
Obese. 1/3.
And more than 1/4 of African men are obese. And this is expected to even rise to about 40 to 50% in 10 years' time.
So
Add 10 years to 2006.
No. So we are saying that if, let's just generalize.
Yes.
At 160 million Nigerians, if half are women, at 80 million, you are saying 40 million Nigerian women are obese?
More than. Yes. And that's the reality. And that's the situation.
But I may have to take the position of those who believe that cause are part of the African.
Thank you very much for that. Every man, actually, almost every African man likes the covetitude of a woman. But there's a difference between the covetitude of a woman and being obese. As a matter of fact, an obese woman most likely will not be curvilinear, will not have that curve. Now, obesity is essentially not a literal term. There are professional way of defining. One of the classical ways I tell people to easily determine if they are obese or not is your arm circumference. Another thing is your waist circumference. If you measure, we get a measuring tape that fashion designers and tailors use. You just put it midway between the bony prominence here, which we call the anterior superior iliac spine by the side, and the last rib bone here. Midway, put your measuring tape and measure around it. If you are a man, if you discover yours is going above 37 inches or 38 inches, and a woman, yours is going above 32 or 32.5,
then you know you're in trouble.
It calls for caution. Because the more your waist circumference or pot belly, which unfortunately we liken to sign of wet in Africa, the more it's extended, the more it's protruding, the more the pressure on your heart. And your blood pressure will gradually go up. In fact, it's faster for someone that has a family history of hypertension. Such that the commonest cause traceable globally, apparently, to heart disease, especially heart attack, today is hypertension. Uncontrolled blood pressure. Uncontrolled blood pressure.
Now, I like the way you have described that. Uncontrolled. So the back end of that would be that it can be controlled.
Yes, it can be controlled.
That this can be managed.
In fact, for that, not just that it can be controlled. If your hypertension is the essential hypertension, because there are two types of hypertension, the one we call the organic hypertension, or is due to an organic cause, maybe an organ failure.
Like your kidney or your liver.
You might have to live on drugs forever because of the organ damage. Now, thank God or thank goodness, it's just less than about 20% or less, even in Africa. 80% or more among black men, 80% or more of hypertension is actually essential. They call it essential in those days because they couldn't trace the cause. It's unknown. But now we know that the cause that they couldn't trace is because they were looking at the organs, if there's any organ damage. But we now know that it's related to lifestyle. The organ might not have damage by now, but the lifestyle is abnormal. So the heart is responding and calling your attention to it. Because we always say, apart from Western medicine, I went into Eastern medicine because I discovered some defects in Western medicine. And in Eastern medicine, they always say that your body is an intelligent device that signals to you at the
If
early
something
stage
is going wrong.
if something is going wrong. One of the ways your body signals to you is blood pressure. So that once it's rising above 120/80, which is the accepted standard, or is gradually going above 140/90, know that something is wrong in your lifestyle, whether internally or externally. And if you can adjust it, which I've done for a couple of clients, if you can adjust it,
It will correct itself.
modify that lifestyle across these 8 lifestyle areas, holistically, not just focusing on eating alone. Those 8 lifestyle areas, I bet it with you, it will correct itself so that with time, you won't have to depend on medications again.
Now, I like what you have also said. We've transversed from Western to Eastern. So what happened to the African? Are we saying that we are still held with this preconceived notion that the traditional African healer is more of a magician than a practitioner?
The major problem with our traditional African healers, or let me call them in better balance, traditional doctors, the major problem I see, number one, is lack of professionalism. And the second problem is on the side of the government, regulation. If we can make them professional, a lot of the mainstream of malaria treatment is herbal. The artemisinin-based combination is herbal, but because it's modified and well packaged
by the foreigners.
Yes, and let me tell you the good thing about natural. That's the future of medicine. Actually, a lot of people tell me it's molecular, it's genetic, it's quantum. Yes, but all these things we find their solutions. Those ones will give us diagnostic exposures. Those ones will give us better management ways. But the real solution will go back to natural. Let me give you a very intriguing story. It's someone that you know that Nigerians know very well. His name is Bill Clinton, a former United States of America president. Unknown to a lot of people, they'll be shocked when I say this. Bill Clinton in the year 2004 had a heart attack. And his heart attack was so serious that he had what we call quadruple bypass surgery. That is, his bypass surgery to reach where the clothing was located, done in 4 stages. Thank God he survived it. But thank God also for his wife. His wife called his attention to it. That how come you had to go on a 4th stage of bypass surgery despite the first one, despite advanced surgery by highly skilled personnel in a God's country, and yet from 1st stage to 2nd stage to 3rd stage to the 4th stage. So his wife started researching. This must have something to do with something we are not looking at. We are looking at the treatment, surgical, medications, but it's like something is missing. That's when the wife came across lifestyle medicine, and she invited Dr. Dinonish and Dr. Dinonish initially to White House. Well, they've left the White House and to their house. This man met with Bill Clinton and started studying the lifestyle of Bill Clinton from across those 8 lifestyle areas, and he was able to pinpoint 3 lifestyle areas that are stressing his heart, causing the recurrence of his condition. Now, they identify it. Well, you know, it's not only about knowing something that changes a situation. Willpower is needed, and even not only willpower, that support system is needed. So despite knowing all those things, he cautioned himself, but he was still
exposed to those windows.
Yes. So that by 2009/2010, while he visited Haiti, when there was this natural disaster there,
yes,
he started feeling the symptom again. They rushed him back, and he had another bypass surgery. So when it's obvious that recurrence will keep coming, and even science made it known to us that after one surgery for heart attack, if you have had a heart attack before a stroke, the recurrence rate is high, and it increases with every repeat. So they called in Dr. Dinonish again and Dr. Kadwezestein, and that's when he was ready to do. And Dr. Dinonish made a statement to him. He said, when it comes to lifestyle modification for chronic conditions like heart disease, it is an intensive word that works. You don't do partial, it's all or none. So the first thing they did, which was the first lifestyle area stressing his heart, was his nutrition. Because of the stress of the job of a first man of a country,
yes,
and I think first man of the world, the mental stress was so high. A stressed brain, like I always say, calls your attention to sugar and fat-laden food. So Bill Clinton was known and notorious for burgers of all orders. They had to clamp down on that and collapse that and switch him totally to a plant-based diet.
Plant-based
diet, totally, with beans, fish, fruits, and vegetables. The second one, they help him to release the emotions of unforgiveness.
Unforgiveness?
Yes, he was holding bitterness.
Yeah, it was hormones. How would that? What's that got to do with that? His heart.
I will give you scientific evidence as to that.
Hormones?
Yes, emotions. As a matter of fact, emotions drive your hormones crazily. They drive your hormones crazily, and what you feel, I always put it in this slogan, what you feel eventually becomes what heals you or kills you. That's the reality.
No. You are saying that anger, unforgiveness, all manner of
negative emotions. Let me give you an example. University of London did a study over 17 years. I think World Health Organization took it up also, and they came up with the same submission that a poorly managed reaction to stress, especially emotional reaction to stress, is a stronger risk factor for heart diseases and cancer.
Cancer again?
Than chronic smoking, alcoholism, and high blood cholesterol. In fact, University of London study actually specified that poorly managed emotional reaction to stress is 6 times a risk factor for heart disease and cancer than chronic smoking, alcoholism, and high blood cholesterol. Another example, scientific evidence that I like giving is this. Every sustained moment of fear or anger or worry releases about 30 stress hormones into your system.
No, say that again.
Every sustained moment of fear, worry, or anger releases about 30 stress hormones into your system and about 14,000 stress-related neurotransmitters into your system. Now, there's no problem with all these chemicals because God designed
them for a purpose.
We call them the fight or flight response. If there's a threat on you, if your body does not recognize it as a threat, as a stress, you will not fight back or fly away from it. But because of these hormones, they enter, when they are released into your system, they push more blood into your muscles so that you can run faster than normal. For example, a dog chasing you, you will run faster than Usain Bolt. Or push more blood into your brain to carry more glucose and oxygen there, so that, for example, they just informed you that project that is meant to be completed in 3 weeks, there is an order from above for God at the top that you must finish it within 3 days, and your job is tied to this, or a promotion is tied to this. Your mental alertness rises because of more blood supply there. This is because of fight or flight response, and you most likely, if you can calm yourself down and respond well to it, you will finish it within 3 days. That's the reality of life. These hormones are designed to be angels rather than demons.
But
when they persist for too long, because your system is meant to clear them for your system after a while. But when they persist for too long, they turn back on your body cells and tissues, including heart cells, including prostate cells, including breast cells, and start damaging them. They start eating them up. Plus the fact that they need fuel to keep alive, and their fuel essentially are the essential vitamins and minerals. So they start mopping up your body vitamins and minerals.
The ones that should make you stay healthy.
Your body building blocks. And that's where this is setting.
Now, you are pushing me to a point where I begin to ask some very funny questions. Would you now want to profile the level of corruption in the country as being the reason for some of these things? Do you think it's related?
I have a professional mother in Abuja. One day she called me about a condition. I said, "Madam, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You are on a high lane, close to burnout." Then we started talking about the situation of the country. That she was telling me, "Is it not enough to make you go or lose your brain?" I said. Then we got to a point that we started talking about the unreasonable way at which stealing is going on and the rest. So I told her, I said, "Ma, sorry to say this, the reality is that a lot of our politicians are mentally ill. They are not responding well mentally to the societal challenges. There is pressure on a lot of politicians from family, from town members.
From friends.
It's our son.
Yes.
You have gone into politics. We need to have our own share of the cake." That's one. Yeah. Fear of uncertainty, fear of the future, that I need to stack up money for my children for my grandchildren, for my great-grandchildren. Gradually, with all these pressures on their thought and their feelings, their mental faculties are adjusting to that, so that if care is not taking it, adjust your lifestyle, your behavior, the way you see values, the way you see value in your society, the way you add value to your society. And that's why I told her that day, I said, ma, I think all politicians, before they are elected, they should all go to psychometric tests.
But can we have that actually done? Is that actionable? Is it something that can be politically demanded of them?
I think so. I think so, because it's just like hiring a mentally ill driver for yourself. A driver will drive you from point A to point B. If he's mentally ill, he's going to crash you. The same thing with our leaders. They are drivers. If they are mentally ill, we're going to have accidents.
Not going anywhere. Now, I've had some guests here who actually have said to me that Nigerians deserve the kind of leaders they have. So
absolutely agree.
You agree with that too?
Absolutely agree.
So
we have a problem of followership, not just leadership. I always say that if in a bag of eggs, you pick number 1 egg, it's bad. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, bad. The chance is high that almost all the eggs are bad. If for the past roughly 60 years of our existence as an independent country, we have not been able to pick one right leader that will steer the wheel rightly for this country, then it is a very, very clear indication of the prototype of followership. Just look at a lot of recent happenings. The most recent one, when you are talking about stomach infrastructure ahead of the real infrastructure, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes. So I mean,
that's the reality of our society. I met someone that just came from Dubai. We met at the airport, and he was telling me he's an elderly man, a retired, well, let me say a legal practitioner that no longer practices. He was practicing in UK, then came back home after 27 years in UK to practice politics. Went to his local government in Kwara State, was actually vying for chairmanship, and he started going from town hall meetings to town hall meetings.
Trying to explain.
Yes, and he said there was one common factor for all the town hall meetings he went through in his local government. After he has said everything, fantastic, the vision for the next 1 year, 2 years, and 4 years, they will applaud him, and the ballers will congratulate him and appreciate him. By the end of it, they will say, sir, some other people came here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They brought this, they brought that, they brought this, they brought that. What have you brought for us? After mentioning all what he will do, he will run a transparent government, he will do this. They applauded him, no problem with that. But they ended up asking, what have you brought for us? So person came here 2 weeks ago with this, with that, with that. What have you brought?
So Deji, that means we are trapped.
We are trapped. We are in a state what we call an inertia, what I call spiritual inertia. I'm not talking about church or mosque now.
Yes.
Our state of reasoning, our level or quality of value.
Static.
Yes, we are at a state of stagnation. And like Newton's law of motion, an object will remain on the same point until a force that is stronger than it is applied to it. We are at a stagnation, and until a stronger force kicks us, we are not going to move. Unfortunately, the stronger force could be negative or positive. God forbid the negative, like war and the rest. Let's hope for the positive.
Now, before we let you go, because there are so many issues here, I'm just trying to see how we can, collapse all this into something that all of us can, take away something from here. 2015, that will be an election year. National conference is going on. Everybody's putting something on the table. So, are you anticipating that force to come from 2015 or to come from the national dialogue?
Well, that's a very, very big question for me to answer, because if you are to follow scientific way or statistic way, if you want to project, it's not looking like it. It's not looking like a good tale to tell. But hopefully it should be better.
All right. Thank you, Deji. Thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you here. We do hope that we can have you to come back, and then we can then begin to expand this and see what other areas we can look at.
Especially the other lifestyle areas.
Yes, other lifestyle areas. All right. Thank you for our viewers for staying with us.